I'm Ryan Milton from Team Flex, and today we're going to be looking at the NPC Charlotte Cup Bikini. We're going to look at a couple different classes. We'll see maybe 2 or 3 classes here containing the overall winner, some class winners, maybe even a novice. I don't know yet. See how much I get through, how much talking I'm doing today. But either way, you know, what we're trying to do on this channel is give you better insight, better feedback into direction of criteria, what you need to know. If you want to be competing in bikini at any level and do better, subscribe, watch the channel. Got a lot more coming for you. And as always, I say, you know, do my free trial. If you like these videos, you're getting things out of this. This free trial will change the game for you. It's 100 times better than anything we're doing here. I get to coach you free for 7 days. Definitely want to check that out. All right, so let's start with our overall winners class. Keep in mind, we're talking about NPC Bikini Charlotte Cup. So any of you out there that are wanting to compete in bikini, this is a very good insight into what's happening at the amateur, NPC level for your events, so on and so forth. Let's break it down. As we know, it's always all about the hourglass structure. So we're going to see everybody in this lineup, no doubt. All 3 are going to exemplify that because that's bikini division, that's bikini criteria. This is, however, created by muscle structure. 2025 season has been showing to be interesting as it seemed to be a bit of a pullback as far as aggressiveness with muscle and with how lean competitors have been getting in prior years. Seems that we are pulling back a bit, and I do start to see that pretty much at every single event, including what I'm seeing right here as it unfolds. So let's talk a little bit about it. We got the overall winner here, Tilly. So she won this class, Class B, and she went on to win the overall. So we're going to look at that as well in this video for sure. We'll compare her to the other class winners. This is her open class and the way that it boiled down. So, good shoulder shape overall. This is pretty on par with bikini criteria. Not overdone, not getting too big. You got too big of shoulders, you're going to look like figure. Got too little of shoulders, you're going to look like fit model, right? So you really want to nail that look and that fullness that creates that width up top, but does not overdo it, does not distract. Next biggest focus you have is going to be the taper into the waist. So this is what creates this look. And I always tell competitors, the more dramatic of a tapered look you can get, the better you're going to do on stage. 100% of the time, this is what I'm working on with bikini athletes, is really figuring out how to get their waist narrow, how to bring up the shoulders a bit too, and then make sure, of course, lower body matches. So glute development into the lower body needs to match the quads and the hamstrings as well as the upper body and as well to what's going on in the waist. If you can pull that off, the most balanced symmetrical look with muscle and shape, you're going to win your bikini competition. So Tilly really nails this look from the front. There's not really much to say about an improvement here conditioning wise. Good right here where we see these soft lines in the quads and the hamstrings, a little bit in the glute, a little bit upper body, and totally flat stomach. This is what judges are looking for. That's what you need to focus on if you want to be in bikini. You'll notice though, not a super over muscled physique, not a lot of huge shoulders, not a lot of huge glutes and quads and hamstrings. Very, compact to the frame. The muscle and the shape is there. The conditioning's there. This is what you need to be focused on in bikini this year, especially. We look over here at second place, Lydia, and we see a lot of similarities, but some clear differences, right? So in the shoulders, there's not as much fullness in these shoulders. She is a little bit of a leaner athlete, I would say. So just a tad leaner, and we can see that mostly through things like her oblique line here, this glute line, and also into the standing leg, we start to get a little bit more separation and feathering. Not a lot. She's not overly lean, but she's definitely a tad leaner, which can also pull down a little bit of the fullness in the shoulders, a little bit of that fullness in the glute, and that can make a difference, right? Upper glute here could appear to be down just a little bit depleted because of that. So, again, pretty good marker. Judges are moving a little bit more of a lean athlete with a little bit less fullness to second versus first, right? And that's interesting. Let's look over at Catherine. So Catherine here, shoulder shape overall good, tapers into the waist pretty well, lower body wise good glute shape, quads and hamstrings. Her glutes and lower body in general kind of overpower her physique, I think. So not as much going on up top in the shoulders as what's going on down here in the glutes. So that throws off your symmetry a little bit. That cannot be favorable. Conditioning wise, she's pretty on point. There's posing tweaks and things like that I think would be advantageous to her. But for the sake of the conversation and what we're talking about in the video, it's all making sense so far. Now we go to the back, right? Let's take a look from the back. So we have Tilly, we have Lydia, and we have Catherine in their back pose here. So here, Tilly, we can see that shoulder fullness, like I talked about, really does pay a big way forward to creating that first piece of that hourglass, the roof of the hourglass shape, if you will, right? The tapers into the waist very well. That's, again, the more dramatic you can do that, the better. So take notes if you're taking notes, right? Get yourself that hourglass shape going, that super taper waist, everything going. Really, really good for bikini division. Now, looking lower body-wise, what we can see, good overall glute shape, good structure, not as much depth coming from her glutes with the tie-in and everything, but the slight separation between glute and hamstring tie-in, this does tend to be just about what judges are looking for. So she definitely has a little bit more muscle in her quads and her hamstrings also, but overall, that is, again, pretty much bikini criteria right now. A little bit more muscle with not over-aggressive conditions, the fullness, but not too much size, so on and so forth. She wins this class, wins the overall. Looking at Lydia, this is where we really get to see, again, she's pretty lean, like I said, so you can see a lot more of that, shoulder going on, the separation there, tapers into the waist well, but really what stands out is the lower body development does not have as much depth, right? So we're not getting as much of the upper glute, not as much from the overall glute shape, and not as much of the tie-in or the hamstrings or the quads. So when you get a lot leaner, you do tend to kind of deplete the muscle down a bit, and the muscle does not appear the same. It's not going to have that as much fullness. There's a big difference in the fullness between our first place winner here, Tilly, and Lydia for sure. And that, again, is being favored on the other side with Tilly being, more full, not as hard, not as lean. That's basically what's winning her this class, and thus the overall. Now looking over here, Catherine, so good shoulder shape, overall, tapers in good. Everything's here, lower body-wise. Interestingly enough, again, like I said, seems to be a bit dominant, right? So that we do see that in competitors, especially in the NPC, when you have a little bit too much glute or a little bit too much quad or a little bit too much hamstring, any of those that are going to be standing out, that's not going to really favor you, because bikini, they want tons of symmetry, up, down, left, right. When I'm working with my bikini competitors, that's what we're chasing. That's what we're looking for. You don't want any muscle groups to stand out. You want everything to work together in symmetry and harmony, right? That's really the key. So for her, good shape and everything, but the glutes just kind of overpower the rest of her physique at this point. So that's kind of what we're looking at. Now, if you're watching the channel and you're confused on anything I'm saying, or you want to just experience free coaching with me, one-on-one, 7-day free coaching trial, you can pull up your phone right now, go to this link, teamfflex.com/7-day trial. You get to train with me free for 7 days. You don't have to put credit card info. You're not going to get charged. You don't have to do anything like that. It's a give back experience that I created to give back to the bodybuilding world, the community that has allowed me to do this for my career, to make videos like this for you, for my job, basically, right? I come up here and do this. And I want to give back. So that's how you get to do it. You can go check that out. I'll train you free for 7 days, give you feedback on your physique, design some training sessions for you, do all that, and it'll be great. Check it out. Okay, so now I want to look at our third and our fourth in this group, okay? So basically, we already actually looked at our third, so there was only 4 in this lineup. Still getting used to this new format, by the way, so that's why I'm fumbling a little bit there, but only 4 in this group. So Cece is our newest addition, and the one we have left to talk about here. So shoulder shape, all good here. Midsection tapers in well. Lower body wise, everything's there. Glutes, quads, hamstrings. What you see though, she's a bit of a softer in this group, not at the same level of condition as the rest, and not as much muscle in general, creating that fullness, right? So that makes sense for a 4th place in this group. Great physique, great quality, great representation of what you'll see at the NPC level for sure on stage if you're competing. But again, I'm trying to talk to you a little bit about why the placings go the way they did. So that's going to be the main difference for her. We see it from the back as well, just not as much of that shape coming from the shoulders. You can clearly tell. Tapers in well, everything's good. Lower body wise, not as much coming from the glutes and the quads and the hamstrings. And the conditioning is definitely the softest of the group. So don't want to be overly soft in bikini either, and also still want to make sure you have all of that muscle. Let's pop over to class winners from the same event here. So now these are the class winners for the other remaining classes. Tilly obviously wins the class. She wins the overall. This will give you a little bit better insight though into what other winners from the same event looked like. So let's dive into it. So we have class A over here, Tara. So she's got good overall shoulder shape. Everything's here, very narrow waist effect. And that comes from a combo of things. You know, it could be just her physique, can also be this pose she chose. That's a good thing in a lot of ways to have that effect. You can even see a little bit from the lats. That lat width creates a dramatic sweep into the waist. And overall, those are all great things. It ties together well for her physique to, you know, exemplify a class win in class A. Glute structure is good. Overall, upper glute is there for sure. Glute density, muscle shape, everything's to be in good balance. Lower body with the quads and the hamstrings. And her conditioning is very on par with this criteria, meaning we get those soft lines between the quads and the hamstrings, the glutes, the shoulders, everything is there. Very good overall. You know, what's the difference? Looking at her, and you know, this is probably pretty close, back and forth. Tara, you could say maybe is a little tad quad dominant right here, right? Just a little bit more. But again, we didn't get to the back pose yet. Probably becomes very, very obvious when we get there. Let's look at class C, Brittany. So Brittany definitely coming a bit leaner, more size overall here in her upper body. Tapers in at the waist. Good, but very lean. So we're getting, you know, more of a six-packy look from her. Obliques, and you do tend to see this, you know, some competitors just have that a little bit more naturally. That's the way it is. That's all good. Wins her class, maybe not the overall here, and you know, we just got to go to the back because that's going to be the full story for us either way. I think that's where we're going to really see what's going on when we get to this back pose here. So let's go. Tara, yeah, and then Brittany, yeah. Okay, so basically in this back pose, we can tell overall good shape, tapers in well, lower body wise, good. This is where we do see though, Tara, yeah, quads a little bit overpowering, right? When you start to see that sweep from the back, I typically see that with wellness competitors, right? So we do see it on bikini a lot because, you know, if you start to have a little bit more quads in bikini, it will show, but that's a little bit, you know, indicates to me more muscle in the quads, not as much balance, not as much symmetry, also not as much of a 3D depth to the glutes here. Upper glutes there, but maybe we could get a little more tie-in. However, for this event, it is pretty on par with even the overall winner. She does have a little bit more glute density, though, it appears. Looking over here at Brittany, you know, this is where we get to see she was very lean. Her shoulders don't really show as much from the back. You start to see a little bit even into her, you know, lats and erectors and things. That's, again, pretty much an indicator of how lean she is. So just another thing to pay attention to. And lower body wise though, not really pulling off the same level of condition here, right? We can see that there's not as much of that conditioning coming out. Still good overall shape and structure, but she wins that class, doesn't win the overall, probably for those reasons in that group there. All right, let's take a look over here at class now C and class D. So we already looked at Brittany actually, so we're just gonna look at Jenna over here. Class D, Jenna, which is our only other, yeah, is this the only other one here? Let's take a look. Yeah, I believe, yep, that's the only other one here in this group. So class D, Jenna, is the final one we will look at for our class winners. So she's got good overall muscle structure and size, tapers in at the waist. Her glutes look very, very dominant in the lower body though. So we have a lot of glute development upper wise, a lot of glute here, and it's definitely overpowering her legs in general. So she wins this class, probably doesn't win the overall due to the difference in that symmetry factor for her. I think that that's pretty much the key. Looking from the back, very, you know, it looks to be a little bit better here, maybe a little bit more of that shoulder and that taper here, but still lower body pretty developed. You see a lot of muscle here compared, you know, so again, a lot of weight in the quads and the hamstrings. So that, again, you know, she wins that class, probably needs a little bit more of that symmetry to just tie together for that overall win. But either way, great quality physiques from all of our classes here, great quality physiques from all of our class winners, and great examples of this criteria. So let me know what competitions you want me to cover. You want me to cover your class, your show, your competition, or any other ones you like, you've been paying attention to. Drop it down in the comments below, and let me know if you like these new formats and everything else we're working on here, all right? Thank you for watching. Coach Ryan is out.